Hello guys, welcome to my channel, welcome to my studio, and welcome to this little tutorial. We're going to be making earrings, square on square on square earrings, which means we have to make canes. These guys. Okay, so that's what we're doing today in class. I hope you hang around and I hope you enjoy it. Let's get started. Okay, peeps, so conditioning. Now, when you open the package, this is what your clay will look like. Now, I cut this in half to open it up. And what you see when you look inside will tell you something. Now, if a clay is far advanced, advancing is when the clay, over time, the ingredients start to separate the wet from the dry. And in very extreme cases, a block of black like this, if it's really, really advanced, you would cut it and it would just look all gray, completely gray. This, like this. See this right there? Yeah, well, the whole thing would look that way. So what this tells me is that this isn't brand new, fresh clay, but it also isn't really, really old clay either. So yeah, so look at your clay. It'll tell you how hard you're going to have to work. Because, of course, the more advanced the clay is, the harder you have to work. Now, the first step for me is to take my acrylic rod and flatten. And this is also like, it's sort of like pre-conditioning. Because, look, see that gray area? It's gone now. So it's almost as if the clay is returning to its more liquid state. I mean, of course, this isn't liquidy. It isn't like liquid clay or anything, but that's kind of what happens. I mean, look at it now. That's the area that was gray and dry, and now it is not. Now, I do this, see this area. Now, this is a little bit different. When these clays are packaged, well, it's a heat seal. It's a heat seal. Now, I don't pay much attention to it. Ordinarily, I would just work it in, and I think it would probably be fine. But there are instances where it's so hard that it's basically cured. It's basically cooked. This happens with all the clays. Any clay that is heat sealed like that, chances are it's going to happen at some point in time. All right, so this is perfect. It's just a little bit thicker than the thickest setting of the pasta machine. I am setting my machine on the thickest setting, which is 0. And I'm going to roll through, okay? Now, you can tell it's not conditioned yet. That isn't enough because, see, it's still got this light area here. So when it was flattened and smushed through the machine, it exposed some of what is happening inside. Inside, it's still dry. I just rolled up with my acrylic rod and sort of conditioned the outside. So now I have to condition the whole thing. I've reset my machine, skipping one setting. So I went from 0 to 2. Now I'm going to roll this through the pasta machine again. The direction I roll is not all that important, okay? Ta-ta. Now it's still got that little bit of gray streaking like that. I'm gonna reset my machine. This time only one setting. I went to 3. Gonna roll it through again. Here we go. Now, at this point, I'm going to start folding. See, it's got some cracks. And rolling. And folding. And rolling. Folding and rolling. And you can see I'm losing that gray streakiness. Folding and rolling, folding and rolling. Now, let's say you had clay that was extremely dry. Well, if you have clay that's extremely dry, you would not stop at setting number 3. You would reset to maybe setting number 5. I'll show you. Make the sheet thinner and continue the process at a much thinner setting, and that speeds it up too. And doesn't that make sense? The thinner the sheet, the faster that the inside of the clay is going to actually mix. So conditioning at the thickest setting takes longer than conditioning at a thin setting. Now I generally stop at 3 because it's a more manageable amount of clay. In other words, if I rolled this through 3, well, I'll show you. I roll it through 3 and I'm dealing with only this much clay. I roll it through 5 and suddenly I have to handle something that's this big. 7, it would be even longer. Okay, so that is, in a nutshell, conditioning. Now this clay is conditioned. Let me roll it back through a thicker setting and we'll take another look at it. All right. So what happens with clay is that when it's conditioned, it develops a soft sheen. Rather than, see, this is kind of matte where I cut it. Well, you roll it through the machine, and once again, it's that sort of liquefying process. That's the way I think of it anyway, where the wet ingredients are absorbing the dry and everything's becoming like a uniformly mixed clay, which is what we want. This is closer to how it comes out of the machines at the factory. This is what happens when the clay sits around. I knew someone who described it as like pancake batter. Okay, so if you've ever made like pancakes, you mix the stuff up, and then if you let it sit there for a while, it starts separating, right? And you got to mix it up again. Well, that's what conditioning is. It's like remixing that batter. Okay, so let me continue. I will do the other half if need be. I mean, I don't know what you're doing. But there we go. That's conditioning. Okay, peeps. Well, the first thing we have to do is mix that nice deep green that I like. This is a whole block of green. I'm going to do it because I do this color a lot. Okay, so it's worth it to me. Now, you know, all of this together is about 2 ounces of clay. What I need is half of 1 rib of red. And there you go. Okay, now I'm going to mix these 2 together. Condition and mix at the same time. No need to do them separately. Oh, this clay's going to take some work, isn't it? Look at that. Yeah. All right, I'll be back. Okay, peeps, so this is the color. Oh, this is the original green, different package. But you can see the difference that just that one tiny bit of red made in this clay. All right, so the next thing I've got to do is I have to take this and turn it into that nice sort of muted lime green. Okay, so I don't really have a specific formula for this because what happens is this is so strong and this is so weak, it ends up taking very, very little. Okay, so I tend to work it down. I'll take maybe this much, work it in. If it's not deep enough, take a little bit more, but I don't ever just take, oh yeah, let's take a whole rib and put this whole rib. No, no, you just work it down gradually. Otherwise you'll be mixing a lot. You'll end up adding a lot of yellow. All right, so I'm just going to condition this up and then I'll show you what we've got. All right, peeps, so here is the second color, that lime green. It's still pretty bright, so at this point, I could add a little more of this. I could go straight and add just a touch of red. But you know, I think I like it this way, so I'm gonna leave it. Now, I'd like these to be the same sort of consistency and softness. This one feels a little stiffer. Of course, this one's thinner, you see? This one's just a bit thinner, but it does definitely feel more supple. So I'm going to add more conditioning bar to the stiff one. Try to balance it out. How much do I need? I don't really know. I don't really know. Maybe that's enough. Maybe I need more. I'll find out. Okay, I'll be back. All right, so here I've got my two colors, and they are about the same suppleness. I added more to the yellow, or was it this one? I don't know. The goal is to have them the same. So let's make a Skinner blend. Now I'm going to take you through the process for these two colors, and then with the understanding that you're just going to repeat the process with these two. Okay. Basic two-part Skinner blend, one on top of the other. Make two cuts that form a right angle. There's one cut. Here is another cut. Separate these. They can be used for something else. Take them apart, put them back together again, so that you're forming a square or a rectangle, not a kite. A kite, the kite shape. Yeah, so that's close. Okay. Cut the two tabs off in the corners. And the reason, of course, we're doing this is that I want an area that has pure lime and an area that has pure dark green. And if they meet, if I were to cut it here, the whole sheet is blended and there's no pure color. First time, place this side or this side, more than one color, physically touching the rollers, and roll through. My clay has been rolled through the thickest setting of my pasta machine. Now every time after, you're going to fold it the same way, same color edge on same color edge. Now it's been my experience that sometimes you lose the lighter color. So pay special attention to the way you fold and match up this side. Now place the fold on the rollers and roll through. Keep up the process. Now see, it starts flaring out. That's okay. Pull it back in, like so. And I will continue folding and rolling just this way. And then I'll be back. So here's what I have, my Skinner blend sheet. I'm going to place this edge on the rollers and thin it, resetting my machine to setting number 2. Now my machine, my Atlas, starts at 0, and there is a best setting for rolling your clay, and that is the 3rd setting. So on my machine, that's actually setting 2. So I am going to place this edge on the rollers and roll through. Now, the reason it is the best setting is just, it has to do with the gearing. It's where the gears most perfectly mesh together. And so when you tighten, or when you set it to higher number. On the atlas, for instance, 9 would be the thinnest. What happens is the gears get pushed in. Now, when you're at 0, the gears are out. So when you're at the 3rd setting, it's just about perfect. You know, the gearing is perfect. So now let's make a plug. All right. Oh, ooh, look, flower. All right. Now a plug. Making a plug is nothing but reverse reduction. So instead of rolling my hands from center out, I'm rolling my hands from out to center. And making the middle thicker and thicker and thicker. Now, every once in a while, because see, it's a bloop like that, and then it thins. Oh, got to straighten that out, don't we? Like so. Sometimes you can do this kind of thing. Just pushing in. Ba-dum, ba-dum, ba-dum. Okay. Now, if you notice that you're getting kind of a waste in the middle, it's pulling in the middle, sometimes that happens when the clay is harder, like one color is harder than the other. And sometimes it can be quite extreme. Now, this is not a problem at all. But if you need to move the clay in the middle, you can just grip the ends and twist like that. And see what's happening? It's getting chubbier in the middle. Then go back to squashing the ends in like so. Okay. I don't know whether this is going to be the middle or the outside. I haven't decided yet. I'm thinking that this might be the outside of the square or the larger square. Maybe. I haven't made up my mind. I'm setting it aside. Now I'm going to repeat the whole process with the orange and the red. All right, peeps, here they are, these two. Now, the next thing I'm going to do is form these into a square. All right. And what I want is actually the square to be this way. Okay. Da, 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 da. So let's flatten one side, flip it over, flatten, flatten, flatten. Now this is big enough. I probably could just take my blade and cut like that. But we'll do it this way because maybe you have less clay you're working with. Because to get a decent sized square, you have to have quite a bit of clay. So you can see how the square is forming now. Now, every now and then, of course, you're going to have to flatten these two sides, the bottom and the top. Like so, right? Okay, now this is actually big enough for me just to slice like this. But let's say I have a smaller quantity and I just want to make this square. Well, then, of course, you have to work on the other two sides. Like so. Flatten them like that. Again, you can use, oops, like so. Then the ends like that, and we are really getting there, you see. Square. Now, let me do the other one and I'll be back. This isn't quite complete. See how the corners are rounded like that? Well, I don't really want them to be rounded, so I'll probably slice away some of this to make nice crisp corners. But let me first do this one. Okay, peeps, here they are, both of them. Now, I'm going to wrap this. Now, this is the face of the cane. This is the face. Okay, so I've designated that. Now, what I want to do is sharpen these 4 corners because I'm going to be wrapping around. So I'm going to just do that manually, like so, by rolling with my acrylic rod right there at the corners. And just making them sharp. Okay, and you just do that as much as you think you need to do. Try to make each of the sides as flat as possible. Okay. You shouldn't have any problem with the sides, just the top and the bottom that can start to cave in. Because you saw the way I was holding it, I'm actually kind of pushing it. So this side and this side. No, I've got some schmutz there. I have some schmutz there. I don't, should I try to remove the schmutz? See, if I remove the schmutz and I dig too deep, then I create another whole set of problems. So I'm going to actually leave it. Got rid of some, just a bit. But I don't want a hole there. Yeah, I made a little hole. I made a hole. Let me fill in the hole. I do not want a hole there. Okay. Okay, so now I'm going to wrap this with black. And I'm going to make it kind of thin, so I'll condition and roll up my black through like setting number, what should it be? Maybe setting number 5. Okay, so repeat that process with this just to sharpen the corners. This is the face, so you are actually going to be sharpening these 4 corners. All right, I prepped my black clay. You know, I didn't make it softer. This is a case where I want it to be just a little more dry. So I'm rolling this through setting number 6, which is quite thin. But you know, the softer the clay, the harder it is to handle clay that is this thin. So I left it a little bit stiffer, which is going to be fine because it's on the outside. So when I go to reduce the cane, it's not going to hang back in. It will be the first clay to respond to the warmth of my hands. Okay, so let's just put one side down like that. Cut this just a little wider. Pull it up around the bottom, the third side, lift the whole piece up. If you have an air bubble, I don't know that that's an air, is that an air bubble? Just a tiny one, so. And then finally, the fourth side. But first, I want to make sure that this black clay is trimmed right there against the side. All right. Okay, now I'll trim that one corner, like so. And I'm just going to roll a couple times like that on that corner. And I have wrapped this guy. Okay. Now I'll repeat with this. You see, I really like having that black line around each of these squares. I like that extra definition. It's not like just plopping an orange square on a green square. I like that little separation that the black gives you. Okay, so I'm going to do the same thing with this, and I will be back. Let's see, which side was it? So many options. I think it was... I want it to be the same height. So I'll wrap it this way. Okay, peeps, so I'm going to reduce these down. First of all, I think this is too big for earrings. If I were making pendants, perhaps. So you know what? I'm just going to slice off a piece. At this larger size, just in case. Okay, and that's a pretty decent looking slice. All right. And I'll set that aside. Maybe I'll do the same thing with the orange red combo. To get the end off, like so. then cut a slice. I should probably be working on a tile for this. Okay, excellent. So I've got those two set aside. Now I am going to reduce this down to about 1 inch, and I think I'll reduce this one down as well. Okay, so the reduction just starts by pressing down on each side, starting on one, flipping to the next, flipping to the next, and so forth. I want to lengthen this a bit before I can grip the ends. Right now there's very little to actually pull and tug on. I need more length. Okay, every now and then, take your acrylic rod and just flatten each plane. And it's kind of slow going, but we'll get there. So it's already that much taller. They were about the same to begin with. The clay feels good. And I'm very glad I didn't soften the black. It'll be much easier. It is much easier to handle, even at this point. Just imagine if that black was really, really soft and sticky, then every time I went to move this, it would stick much worse. And I don't really want that. I am glad I softened the square itself, though. Okay, I think it's looking good. Now, what am I down to now? Oh, 1 inch and a little more than 1/4, so I have a bit to go. Maybe I'll stop at 1 1/4 inches. Okay. Just a bit more. Just a bit more. Okay, I think that's pretty good. Now, is that too big for earrings? Not sure. Anyway, these earrings will have a green base, and then there'll be a smaller square on top of it. So now I have to reduce this. How much? Let's say this goes down to 1 inch. Okay, I'm going to do the same process. Not going to make you watch me. You know, I think when I get it down to this size, I may cut it in half and keep half of the orange big and half of the green big. Okay, gives me a little more flexibility later. Is that an air bubble? Huh? I thought I saw one. Okay, so I will just keep pulling like so and squishing, pulling and squishing, and the occasional roll, 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 roll. I'll be back. Okay, so these are now reduced down to about 1 1/4, approximately 1 1/4. So they're kind of short. So rather than cutting in half, oops, rather than cutting, I'm just going to go ahead and reduce the ends of both of them. Okay, I'm going to leave one end nice and thick. But this is one way to cut down on your waste. See, if I cut this in half, and I keep the big half, well, and I want to reduce it, I'm going to lose clay through the reduction, right? Yep, you know it. So I'm going to make one pair of earrings. At this point, I'm not into any mass production. Of course, if I were doing mass production, I would have my design already set, and let's say the smaller square is this one, I would just reduce the whole thing. But when you work and you make basically one-of-a-kind things, then you want to make sure that you have as much flexibility with all these pieces that you're making, right? So if there's a way to just preserve the original size and reduce off, well, I don't have to make the cane again. If I had reduced this all small, I would have to make it again. Don't like that hole, so I'm going to cut through until it's not there. All right, so there is the smaller square. Now, how would this smaller square look on the larger one? Something like that. So I might want to reduce it even further so that more of the orange is exposed. Okay, so I think you get the picture. Now I'm going to do the same thing with the orange. And then we'll have most of our parts ready to play with. Yeah. All right, peeps. So what I'm going to do is I am going to create a gold sheet using this. Now, this is t-shirt transfer stuff, or it's transfer stuff. And what it is Mylar with a chemical coating. So this is the back of the coating. This is the front. And this is the way you use it. You just take a piece and you lay it on raw clay. Now this clay has been rolled through setting number 4 on my pasta machine. I am just going to burnish like so. It's really pretty, isn't it? Okay, and then I'm going to take my little mini card. Long expired. I still have the car though. I love that car. So cute. My mini. Okay, oops. Oopsie. I kind of gripped this end, and apparently I've done this enough. Now, I have tried many different kinds, and some don't work at all. So you just have to try and see what happens. Now I'm going to grip the end and just pull it off. And this is a really good one. Look how easily that transfers. Now this is what I'm going to use to put a nice little dot in the middle of the earrings. Yeah, okay. Okay, so I reduced these down, the ends. Let's make earrings. Now, first of all, of these two, I like this one better. I think it's a better blend. This one, see, there isn't much of that green area in between this bright line and the green. So it's just, I don't mind the colors at all. It's just that it's not as good a blend. So let's try both ways. First, I'm going to cut the end off here. And let's say that the earring becomes this guy. And then I will cut a smaller piece off of the orange and red, and let's check it out. Okay. Let's see where we're going with this. Okay, I like it. I like it, I like it. So let's try the opposite. Let's take a little test piece. It's got a little imperfection there. Cut some of this off the end. And that's roughly what this one would look like. Okay, now of the two, definitely I like this one better. So I'm going to make these. I'm just gonna set some of these things aside. Okay. First, this is perfectly usable, so we're going to use that one. Just temporarily, we're going to work on the tile. Now, this is a problem. I cut a little bit too thin there, so I'm not going to use that slice. I know, I hate wasting. I hate wasting them, but if it's not going to work, it's not going to work. Can be a little too thick, but I don't really like it like that. Now I'm going to take my sponge and just texture. Like so. just push the sides back in a bit. Okay, now let's add the squares. I have one square here. I'll try to center it on the first one best I can. Now, of course, you could arrange this any way you want. One more piece. Okay. Now, texture. Now I'm going to put a little gold accent in the middle. Now sometimes I'll put a little crystal in, but I think this time it's just going to be a little gold accent. Now, I have gold accents everywhere. This. Hey, look, here's some gold accent. Now, what this is actually foil. You guys know foil, right? It's this. This is foil with the coating. All right, so let's quickly do that. I'm going to break right here. All right, peeps, so let's use this. I'm just going to cut a strip and just lay it down like that, and that's what I'm going to use to cut me some little squares. See, little square. Find the center, plop it down, push it. These aren't the same earrings. I just wanted to tell you because you guys have eagle eyes. Yeah. I thought I was turning the camera on and I was turning it off. So I just recorded 42 minutes of nothing. So I had to re-record this and I had to re-record this. So that's where we are. Now I'm going to put these in here. I'll be back. Okie dokie. Now, here is my dim sum pan. Yeah, I got this from an Asian market. So let's remove an earring, just like that. And just lightly press it in. Now, you know, you could bake it flat. If you want flat earrings, just bake it on the tile. Okay. This is going in the oven. Okay, and look, earrings. Through the magic of I made a mistake and had to redo everything. This is a tray I prepared before. Now, I want you to look at the little gold squares in the middle. They're not quite so gold, are they? Sometimes that happens. The heat dulls the color a bit. Yeah, what can I say? What can I say? All right, so let's just pop two of them out. These two are the ones, are they the ones that, or was it these two? I think these two, or that one's a little thick. Okay, like that. Okay, now The one thing I do believe I would change, if I could, there's too much of this bright green on the bottom. Too much, too much, too much. Yeah, I mean, it's not terrible. It's not terrible. But, you know, this cane is what it is. I don't see a really great way of correcting it. I could cut all the black off, reblend it, maybe add a little more yellow so I get maybe more shading in the middle areas, but I think I'm just going to leave it. Okay, now at this point, we just want to add our findings. Okay, so I'm going to use posts. I mean, it's not law. I could drill a hole here and connect these pieces to a finding. Yeah, I could, but I'm also going to back this. So let's begin. Let's begin. Wait, do I want the light? I want the light up. I want the light orange up. Or do I want the orange down? Do I want it sideways? I haven't done that. I want it sideways. What would that look like on? Put the light green next to your face, or? Okay, so I just made that way more complicated. I'm just going to put the dark one of these about here. Oops. Come on, glue. And the other one about there. That looks like a good spot. Oh, a little too high. Still a little too high. Okay, I think that's good. So I'm going to let that sit for just a moment, and I'm going to take some black clay. I'm going to roll it through setting 5, maybe. Let's go setting 5. Setting number 5, big enough for both. And I'm going to roll this through the pasta machine with my sponge that obviously I use black with. So I'll roll them through together to texture. Now, this sponge is packed with clay, which means this clay is sticking to the clay and the sponge. So what I'm going to do is stretch like that, and that helps release the clay from the sponge. Nifty. Nifty, nifty. Okay, let's apply some liquid. Around like so to the back of the earring. Everything's sticking to me. Okay. Boom. And then trim around like so. Okay. Like that. Trim, 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 and then turn it and do it in the other direction. Trim, trim, trim. One last time, trim. Always inspect from the front before you cure. And one of these, pardon me, earrings will have my signature cane. Cane for life. This is enough cane for everything I make for the rest of my life. Okay, here we go. Boom. One down, one to go. Okay, peeps, I am going to cure these earrings on this. This is foam rubber that was given to me by my friend Lainey, and it works really well. Just like that. Okay, so in the oven they go again. Okay, my peeps, look, these are still warm. Earrings. These are all the earrings I made. I have a couple pins in the oven too. Remember these big pieces I had cut off initially? Well, I made pins. Now, this is what I have left in terms of clay. Okay, I should take off my ring. Remember, we started with a package of orange, a package of red, a package of yellow, and a package of green. Yes. Then we mixed this color, mixed this color. These two are straight out of the package. Now, what did I do with my scrap ends? I mixed them. So all of the green scrap that I had turned into this lovely color. I like it. All of the red scrap I had turned into this. I like this too. So it's a good idea when you make canes, you know, just take some of that scrap, mix it together. You might end up with something useful and something you like. Oh, package of black. This is what I have left from that. So I managed to make quite a bit. I have my canes, and I made all these pieces. Okay. So you guys know I like stickers as things like earring cards and pin cards, that sort of thing. Now this is one I got, a set I got, and they're just, you know, phrases from famous people. Okay, they slipped briskly into an intimacy from which they never recovered. F. Scott Fitzgerald. Okay, I like it. These earrings are big, so I have to spread the holes out quite far. I think I can probably get these. They're still a little warm. Okay, so at this point, if they're a little warm and I want to do any reshaping, I can certainly do that. Because when you bake like this, they slightly flatten, which makes sense, right? You need support if you want it to be totally, to retain exactly the same shape. Now, if these flatten a bit, doesn't bother me. Does not bother me a bit. Hello. Okay. Earrings on cards. Ta-da. Okay, so I will card the rest of these up and then I'll be back. Okay, peeps, we're here at the end of the class, the finito portion, and I carded up all my earrings with my little expression stickers. I was quiet, but I was not blind. I love that. I love that. And that is Jane Austen. But here's everything I made. Now, I think that this particular shape, the square and square, perfect for an equality pin. So I'm going to make a bunch of equality pins and give those to my friends. Yeah, what the world needs is equality, that's for darn sure. Okay, so that is it. I want to thank you so much for watching, for joining me. If you haven't liked the class, well, first of all, if you liked it, then please definitely hit the like. And if you're not subscribed, if you're not subscribed, then I hope you will do that, because that helps me too. And by the way, I really only answer questions from people who have subscribed to my channel. Okay? I just don't think that's too much to ask. Anyway, so I am going to end and say goodbye to you with one of my little cards. How about that? A good head and a good heart are always a formidable combination. And that would be Nelson Mandela. I love that. Okay, dear peeps, I love you too. So this is Donna, and I'm signing off. Bye.